All right, we should be good to go on this Tuesday morning. It's Taco Tuesday up in here. Let me double check and make sure we're good. Let me see. Oh yeah, there we go. Shout out to everybody who's in the building. We are back looking all crispy and clean on the screen, and welcome y'all. Welcome back to another YouTube live stream and another episode of the ClassE Morning Show. I'm your host ClassE of patreon.com/ClassEbeats. By the way, make sure you check it out. The link is in the description as well as in the pinned comment in the chat. We got a lot as usual to get to. Y'all know Bryan Kohberger's sentencing is coming up tomorrow. We're going to be recovering it here on the channel. It's most likely going to be a full day of court tomorrow, but we still have some updates we have to get to when it comes to Bryan Kohberger. There's still a lot of information that's coming out and being released. We're going to hear from some of the parents who want the records to be unsealed. They want to know everything that happened. And then we're also going to hear from the president to start the show. He had something to say about Bryan Kohberger as well, which is crazy. We're going to get into more details about Shannon Sharpe. And I know y'all saw the title. We've got YSL again. Fannie Willis is back at her old tricks again. So we're going to get into it. But before I do, I got to share this out so everybody knows that we're live. So shout out to everybody who's in here. And I got to say what's up to the people, man. Who we got up in here? We got my awesome, amazing Amy is in the building. Shout out to Amy, always showing up and showing out. Les Cleaver's in here. A-Fits, Slim Life, New Jersey is in the building. We got Virginia Wiley, Trisha, Taco Tuesday. It's your day. Good to see you in here. We got In Blue, Danny in real life, Sharon. Good morning. Libby22 SC girl says she's working, but she's listening. Thank you for being here. And my guy, Mr. Brown, is in the building as well. I'll be saying good morning and what's up to you all as we go throughout the show. If you could do me a favor, I do not ask for much on this show, but the one thing I do ask for is that you all like the video. Likes are free. They help the channel continue to grow. It takes less than a second to do, and it lets the algorithm know that you guys are enjoying the show. It shares the video, it shares the channel, it shares this live stream out with more people. So if you all could, make sure you like the video. Thank you to all nearly 500 of you, over 500 of you that have liked the video so far. Make sure y'all like the video on your way in. I appreciate it. If you're feeling extra generous, you can share the video as well. It's the little arrow that looks like it's curved and going to the side. You can click that button. You can share it on Facebook, on X, on Instagram. You can share it even to your group chat. So thank you again to those of you who share out the live stream. I see y'all. I appreciate you doing it every single time. Slim Life. We've got Amy, of course, shares it out, and Rhonda as well. I appreciate y'all for doing that. Okay, I will also be reading super chats as we go throughout the show too. So thank you to everybody who goes the extra mile and sends in super chats to the show. I appreciate y'all for that as well. Now, I said we need to share out the video. I got to share it out myself because I have not shared it yet. Because I know we're going to have a lot of people in here and a lot to say, not only about Bryan Kohberger, but about what's going on with YSL. This is crazy. And I still cannot believe this is going on. But let's go ahead and get into it and see what we're dealing with. Let me see. A couple of y'all are asking questions. We said, do you have a video of your stream set up? I'm not sure about that question. Do I have a video of your stream set up? So if you want to watch any of the previous live streams, you can go to the channel. You can see all the past live streams there on the main page. You can also click on live. The live tab on the ClassE YouTube channel, you'll be able to find them there. Let's see, Fannie Willis again. Yep. When will Atlanta, Georgia realize they made a huge mistake re-electing this person? We tried to spread the news here to no avail. She has made a joke out of her office. I agree. Yes, your camera. Oh, I see what you're asking. Do I have a video of my stream setup? You're saying, do I have a video showing everything that I use? I do not have a video on that. But if that's something you like, I can do that over on the Patreon. Shout out to AJ's Visionary for asking. Yeah. And I can also, I'll put a link in the description as well. I'll do that in the next couple of days for you, AJ. I'll put together maybe an Amazon shopping list or something like that, so you can see exactly what I'm using. And if you want to have your own setup yourself, you'll be able to access all of that. Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Thank you for asking that. This is the best show on the net for court TV. Nancy Grace hasn't gotten the case right for 10 years or longer. Yeesh. That's tough. Well, It's hard when you bring a prosecutor, when you've been an attorney, to look at things a certain way. One person y'all know we love over here, Joe Tacopina, does it very well. He's really, and I think that's why he's such a great defense attorney. He's really able to see it from the people's perspective, and he's very grounded. A lot of attorneys, they get caught up into this law and this section and this claim, and this is what's said here, where most of us are just looking at this with a little bit of common sense and background knowledge of how the law works. So yeah, I think that makes a big difference. And also, you have a lot of people out there who just want to push a narrative. And I think we can see that in many of these platforms. I won't name any names. Let's go ahead and get into it. So something interesting leading up to this Bryan Kohberger sentencing coming up tomorrow. A lot of people have been making comments about this. Now we know some more information has come out about the Bryan Kohberger trial, possibly what was going to happen during the trial. And not only are people here on YouTube talking about it, everyone in the news is talking about it, but the president of the United States had something to say about Bryan Kohberger and the plea deal that he take. What you're going to hear may surprise some of you, others of you it may not. Let me know what you think about this. Check it out.
All right, welcome here to Live Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack ahead of the sentence.
And of course, I was listening to this at 3x times the speed. So here we go. We'll slow it down.
Of Bryan Kohberger after pleading guilty in the murder of the 4 University of Idaho students. Still, many people are asking what happened that fateful night in Moscow, Idaho, including the president of the United States, as he posted this on social media saying Bryan Kohberger was responsible in Idaho for the deaths of those 4 wonderful young souls, has made a plea bargain in order to avoid the death penalty. These were vicious.
Wow, the president is not giving him any grace there. He said he done did it. And he's trying to avoid the death penalty. Dang.
4 wonderful young souls, has made a plea bargain in order to avoid the death penalty. These were vicious murders with so many questions left unanswered. While life imprisonment is tough, it's certainly better than receiving the death penalty. But before sentencing, I hope the judge makes Kohberger at minimum explain why he did these horrible murders. There's no explanations. There is nothing. People should be shocked as they were able to plea bargain, but the judge should make him explain exactly what happened. And I think a lot of people agree, or at least share that same sentiment. We're going to be joined right now by legal analyst, friend of the program, Jacqueline Goodman. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. Does the president have a point, and is there any possibility that the judge makes Kohberger explain why that happened?
He should.
Both sides of this issue probably would agree with some of what we're hearing from Donald Trump. The idea that someone doesn't get a right to have their trial is something that has plagued the community in the criminal defense world for quite a long time. We have a disappearing right to a trial. Very, very few cases, about 2% of all felony cases, 1% of misdemeanor charges ever get to a jury. And so with that is lost all the truth and all the sanitizing that comes out in those trials. We don't get to hear about police misconduct, for example, and other issues that might go to the real truth of whether a person is guilty or innocent of those.
And I was just saying this to Amy this morning. Can y'all imagine, based on what we had before, or what we were able to see before Karen Reed, for example? I mean, there were so many people before the first Karen Reed trial that were saying, Karen Reed, she's guilty. She was the last person to see him alive. She was mad. She had to have hit him. Karen Reed's done. She should take a plea. It's over. Can you imagine if Karen Reed had taken a plea, where we would be at today? I mean, we saw so many things that were done wrong during this investigation with Karen Reed that it's like, okay, well, now that I'm seeing the evidence, I'm seeing how the investigation was handled. I'm actually hearing testimony from the people who were allegedly right there at the scene, but never saw John O'Keefe. Now we get to see it play out. That's why I think a lot of us, including the family, actually wanted to see this go to trial. Not only because maybe some of the family members wanted him to get the death penalty if he was found guilty, but they also wanted to see how everything happened, what played out, what the witnesses have to say about this case, and what the evidence shows. But we're not going to get that.
Issues that might go to the real truth of whether a person is guilty or innocent of those charges. And so both sides lament that vanishing right to a trial, and the potential for a much more serious sentence goes along with, in some ways, sort of a tool of coercion for a plea. Nevertheless, the question that the president raises about wanting to know about the motive for this killing, I think does really speak to the hearts of people that have been following this case for a long time. Why did he do it if he did it? what was going on in his mind, because it's really hard to put together, and that's understandable. But I think that the prosecution and some of the families of the victims really understand that to ask that question, to put that out there, is to serve no purpose really other than public spectacle. And so I think that there's a reason why there's a split of opinion about what the president is saying. Plus, it's generally not a great idea for someone with the bully pulpit to come out and speak on particular cases. And so, some view that as an encroachment on the independence of the judiciary. And that's why you rarely hear a president speak on it. But no surprise, this is a case that's been in the headlines. And, it's something that really does speak to the heart of people that are watching it. It really is a difficult thing to think about. And I understand why people are emotional about it.
Yeah, and if you look at, again, the system, you guys have to let me know, do you think this is just? Bryan Kohberger, let's assume that he's guilty and he did do this. And now he's going to do an interview and he's going to say why he did it. And he's going to spend the rest of his life, whatever is left of it, in prison. Do you think that is just? If you put yourself, God forbid, in the place of some of the victims' family, you put yourself in the place of the victims themselves. Do you think that is a just ruling on this? It's hard to see.
It is a difficult thing to think about. And I understand why people are emotional about it.
Yeah, it's such a high-profile case that it raised to the level of President Trump paying attention. And like you mentioned, no motive would be satisfactory for a lot of these families in the killing there of those students. We talked about some of the plea deal and the lack thereof in terms of conditions. Is that normal to have some sort of conditions like they were in place for this Kohberger trial case?
Sometimes it really depends a lot on where you're practicing, what jurisdiction we're talking about. But typically there are things that are talked about before the case gets to the final agreement. These are negotiations that go on from the inception. So when you see some of the sort of, I don't want to say loose ends, but when there's really no major concessions on either side and it's a plea with an understanding of what the sentence is likely to be because there's not much else you can do, those are what we refer to as open pleas. Sometimes they take something like the death penalty off the table, but there's no other conditions to that. And that's not at all unusual in a case like this.
And of course, sentencing coming up here on Wednesday, expected to receive 4 consecutive life terms with no chance of parole, plus another 10 years. Walk us through it. What are the mechanisms? What happens on Wednesday?
So on Wednesday, he's going to be officially sentenced. That's when the judge is going to pronounce sentence. And that's really the end of the jurisdiction of that trial court. Notably, he has waived his right to appeal, but some legal scholars have said that you really cannot waive your right to appeal. And so you can still appeal that decision. But in any event, he will be sentenced. The family of the victims in this case will have an opportunity to speak and to be heard. But realistically, they're not likely to affect whether this plea goes forward the way we're anticipating that it will. So it's really this right to allocution, this right to get it off their chest, but it doesn't really have much effect on whether the sentence would be what we're anticipating or whether the plea deal will go down. It's an extraordinarily rare time when a judge changes course based on the statements from the families of the victims in a case like this.
Yeah, and I mean, seeing the brutality of these murders and that Bryan Kohberger is saying that he did it, what else are you going to do other than throwing the book at him? I would be interested to know if you guys think Bryan Kohberger would have taken a plea if the death penalty wasn't going to be taken off the table. So if he could possibly get the death penalty, would he have taken the plea? And then it's up to the judge to decide if he gets that. Would they have weighed their options? Let me know what y'all think about that.
Changes course based on the statements from the families of the victims in a case like this.
We're expecting all sorts of emotions from those victim statements of family members, anger, sadness, just obviously exhaustion with all of this proceeding. And some of the families were pleased with the plea deal. Others were disappointed that he potentially did not get the death penalty. In terms of those victim statements, do they have to run it by the court at all? How does that happen?
They really don't have to. I mean, the judge is the one who decides the running of the court. In a particular courtroom, a judge may require it. But under the law, they don't have to see these statements before they get up and give them to the court. Sometimes you'll see a court try to stop a victim from saying things directly to a defendant. Sometimes there's so much drama, as you can imagine, there's so much emotion. It is all of the human drama laid out before you. And so there can be times where the court might stop someone and ask them to, direct their attention to the court and to speak their mind, but they may sometimes be asked to keep the decorum in the courtroom. Listen, the plea is itself an attempt in some ways to spare these victims of the trauma of having to live through this trial, the uncertainty of the outcome of any trial. And so, we keep in mind, the court and the district attorney, the the feelings and I mean, the righteous feelings of these victims. And so it is, in a sense, their day to get some things off their chest. And, the court is going to be very deferential to those folks.
Yeah, and we're actually going to hear from one of the family members in another video shortly. But I want to know what you all think about this, because, again, should the judge have accepted this plea? Should it have gone to court? Do you think this is just that Bryan Kohberger is allowed to just say, yeah, sure, I did it. Just lock me up. I don't care. As Amy said, he didn't really, it seems like he didn't really have that great of a life. He was getting rejected. He wasn't allowed to be an intern for the police. His social life was struggling, and he might just say, you know what? I'll be in prison. I'll show up every day. I'll eat my food. I'll read my books, and I'll go back to my cell. Not a big deal. That's got to be tough to live with, and an emphasis on live with there for the victims' parents and their families. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments and in the chat. Is the president right? That's got to be tough. I know y'all are saying the same things in the chat. D said the judge should not have accepted it. I want to see this go to trial. There's just so many questions that aren't answered that I think could have been and would have been answered during the trial and played out. It's up to the jail if they are allowed to do the interview. I think he can do it over the phone, but not cushy sit down. That's true. Shout out to everyone who's in here as well. We've got over 800 of y'all in the building. If you could, make sure you like the video on your way in. Likes are free, guys. I beg for likes forever, and I'm going to keep begging for them as long as I'm on YouTube. It takes a second. It's free. Y'all go ahead and like the video, all right? He's got prison justice coming. I don't know about that. He might get left alone. He might be right at home. Who knows? It feels like the Watts case all over again. Kohberger is vegan. Make him eat raw steak. Oh, that's inhumane. What? My guy Will Wallace is in here too. What's up, Will? Good morning. No explanation is ever going to give closure regardless. That is very true, but they're still wanting to know, because if he goes away and that family never gets to hear why, they never get to hear what happened, what went on, what he did from him, I'm sure that would make things and could make things a little bit more difficult. It should be a stipulation of a plea agreement. They should have to say what they did and why. Well, the problem maybe with this plea agreement, but all plea agreements, I disagree, because again, we talked about this. There are people who take pleas who are innocent, right? So you can get a plea deal. I was on Cleveland Avenue and I had 2 ounces of weed on me. Cops pulled me over and they're like, intent to distribute. You can't have that much weed on you. I'm like, dang, I just had a little bit of weed, whatever. So they go lock me up. I say, hey, I wasn't going to distribute. Yeah, I had 2 ounces. I shouldn't have had 2 ounces, but I mean, dang, guys, I'm not a drug dealer. Well, you're on Cleveland Avenue. You had this much drug. You had this many drugs. Either you can take it to court and you can try and prove that, or you can become a convicted felon and you'll do maybe, I don't know, 3 months in jail. I'll tell you what, we'll just put you on probation for 3 months, for 3 years. You don't even have to see a day in jail. You're a felon though. You got to let everybody know. All right, I'll sign the plea. Because it's either that or you're facing 20 years if you take it to court. Some people just aren't willing to do that. So I think if you do that and then you say, oh, well, you have to say why you did it and what you did. What are you going to lie? You're going to lie in court and commit perjury? No. Happens all the time. No, I've never had weed in my entire life. Obsession with, it was just an analogy. Y'all relax. Obsession with crime and control. Amy says Kohberger has a PhD criminology student at Washington State University who reportedly had an intense interest in serial killers and studied criminal behavior in detail. He once posted a survey on Reddit asking criminals how they planned and felt during their crimes. leading some to believe he was studying real world execution of violence, possibly to reenact it. Social rejection and incel ideology, speculative. We don't know this for sure, but former classmates and women have described him as socially awkward and sometimes creepy. Where'd it go? I lost my spot. Someone online believes his motive may have been tied to rejection or harassment towards women, or resentment, towards women, though this is not substantiated by prosecutors. There's no public evidence he knew the victims personally, but his alleged digital trail, cell phone pings, and social media activity suggests he may have been stalking or watching the house for weeks beforehand. Some experts suggest he may have wanted to commit a perfect crime to demonstrate intellectual superiority. His studies in forensic criminology may have given him false confidence that he could outsmart investigators. There's still a possibility of an unknown trigger or psychological break. The full motive might not come to light during the trial if it proceeds to testimony, which it won't, or it might be fully explained. And she's going to say the rest of that. Yeah. Appreciate y'all being here. And shout out to Amy. Will said I'm smoking a joint right now. Oh my goodness. No, I'm good. Y'all can have that. He probably wouldn't testify even if there was a trial. I don't think so. So unfortunately, I don't think the family will get all the answers they want. It does spare the remaining victims from having to testify. That's true. But if you can get the prosecution to paint a picture for you and show you he was here, he was here, he's here. Excuse me. He did this, he did this, he did this. Then you can probably get a better idea of what happened. Here's what he Googled. Here's what he bought. Here's what class he was in. Here's how many times he drove into the area, even though he had no reason to be there. Then you kind of know. Shout out to Slim Life New Jersey in here with the first super chat of the day. Says, good morning, ClassE in chat. Remember, God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. Amen. Oh, and ClassE, I was speaking on this case / plea specifically. Much love to all. I figured you were, Slim Life. Yep. Exactly. He tried to pull off the perfect crime. And he says, unfortunately, he took the plea, so I don't think we will get to closure unless he decides to give an interview. If he does an interview, oh man. And he's just sitting there talking about it. Can y'all imagine how the victims' families would feel about this? Woo! I don't know. Just to see this man living his life in jail. That's tough. Not really interested in hearing from someone who won't give us the truth on his own antics. I think I could see Bryan doing an interview and wanting to tell his story. I think he just did it to see what it feels like, or if he could feel anything. Sheesh. That's crazy. Weed is not the issue. Politics are with weed, but that is not bad yet. Power of the sun, suffer. Okay, I missed that one. What else are y'all saying? He has those creepy psycho dead eyes. He might scare the hell out of everyone. Yeah, that's true. Where's the weapon? That's a good point. What if he tells where the weapon is? That would be something for the judge to say. He'll just end up self-deleting in prison. It's possible. He wants notoriety, especially if we are to believe his whole connection to the Elliot Rodgers stuff. Oh yeah, and you guys heard, we talked about it here on the channel. His former professor was like, I want to study him and talk to him. So again, that idea that there was something maybe in his mind that thinks, oh, I want to know and understand this on a deeper level. I want to learn about this. I want to learn about serial killers in the past. I mean, you hear his own former professor saying she wants to study his mind and figure out why he thought that. And why did he take his class, and why he chose her, and what did she miss? It's just, I don't know. It's weird. And Bryan's in prison for life. Might as well tell us everything. I don't know. He might want to hold the power and just keep it to himself. Who knows? Amy in here as well with the 3 bombs, showing love. Blowing kisses over there. Shout out to Amy. Love you and appreciate you as well. And Professor is about to blow up with her new book, Teaching a Killer. Oh my gosh. It's disgusting. I don't like his former professor either. She seemed way too interested and intrigued by this. It's weird, man. Anyway, let's go ahead and move to the next topic. Y'all, we're going to have fun with this one. I'm not going to, again, I'm going to try and hold back on my I told you so's because I already got all of them out on Monday. So I think I'm good for today, but we got to get back into Shannon Sharpe because we're finally going to hear from an attorney and a popular attorney who we've heard from before. And he's going to break down what possibly happened with this lawsuit being settled. So as you know, over the past weekend and the past several days, Tony Buzbee made a statement that Shannon Sharpe has settled with Jane Doe, as we know her Gabby, as he knew her Carly, right? So it's looking like Shannon Sharpe settled. We don't know an amount that Gabby got. I'm guessing and estimating between 20 to 25 million. The original ask was 50 million. I don't think they got that. Shannon Sharpe hasn't said anything yet. He had an episode of Nightcap and he was just on the live stream doing what he regularly does. I don't know that we'll hear from him or his representation either. But now we're actually going to get to hear from an attorney who's going to speak on what possibly happened during the settlement and what Shannon Sharpe may have had to do and look forward to now that this settlement is done. Check it out.
All right, to talk about all of this, I want to bring on today's guest. It's celebrity criminal defense attorney Bradford Cohen, who, Bradford, I know you're a friend of Sidebar, a friend of us, and I know you've been following this case pretty closely throughout all of it. So I got to ask you right away, what is your reaction to this settlement? Do you think it was the right call?
You know, and I tell everyone this on all these cases, there's 2 roads to take and you must not go in the middle of those 2 roads. It's either you go all out war, right, and just take depositions and crush someone, or you settle before it's even filed.
And that's what Jay-Z did. Jay-Z was like, nope, Tony, you're not going to get me. This is a lie. Jay-Z went all out war. Obviously, Jay-Z's defamation lawsuit against Tony and Jane Doe didn't go through. But Jay-Z won in the fact that the lawsuit against him was dismissed with prejudice. Shannon Sharpe tried to settle this beforehand. He offered 10 million, and she said, nah, we can do better than that. And everything came out. Big mistake on Shannon's part, in my opinion.
Those are the 2 roads here. So I'm never happy with someone that settles, unless they're settling for a really good deal, that they settle before discovery, before they take her deposition, things of that nature, because it's like guilty. You have to pick one of those paths. And that was the problem I had with Sean Combs's case, right? Like either settle before the complaint gets filed or don't settle at all until you take all discovery and you have everything out and you're showing everyone why you're not guilty of whatever they are associating with you. In Sean Combs's case, the complaint comes out and they settle the same day. That signaled weakness. And that signaled the Southern District of New York to come on in on that kind of case. This case, from what I know about it, from the texts that I've seen, from different kind of pieces of evidence that I've seen on the case, this kind of screams that the individual who was suing Shannon was a willing participant and all these things happened. And that's what the evidence shows to me.
Yeah, it's bad.
Now, Tony Buzbee is not known for being, how can I put this lightly? He's
how are you going to put it?
I'm wondering, how am I going to put this? He's not known for being the utmost above board guy. I don't know.
I could say it. A clown, a liar, someone who's deceptive, and someone who misuses the law, as seen in the lawsuit we saw with Jay-Z. And with all that being said, I was able to look at things objectively. We were able to look at things objectively here. And we saw this lawsuit, Shannon Sharpe versus Jane Doe. And I said, dang, Tony might have a winner here. I think he might win this one. And here we go. Tony Buzbee taking home another win.
I don't know how else to say it, but he's been caught in some issues in the past by the court, by defendants, Jay-Z's case got dismissed. You know, these kind of things that are going on with the cases he handles are not always the best for your reputation. That being said, my guess is that this was settled for a very low amount in Shannon Sharpe's eyes, and it would have cost him more. It was just an economic issue to him. So it probably would have cost him more to litigate this case than it was settled for. So my guess is it was settled for under $1 million.
Okay, multiple things I want to touch on throughout that.
Hold on. Bradford settled for under $1 million. How? How is that possible? And she got a check for 10, and now she's retiring from OF. I think Bradford's missing some key information there, because again, she probably made under $1 million on OF in a year, I can imagine. And he's going to say under $1 million when she was already offered 10. I'm not seeing it.
First of all, Tony Busby, we have to touch on him. But before I move on, I want to go back to what you were talking about with P. Diddy. Of course, we're referring to the ClassE lawsuit that was filed. Then a day later, as you said, there's suddenly the settlement. And then, of course, we know what happens after all of that. So with the Shannon Sharpe case, I'm wondering why there wouldn't have been the settlement prior to filing. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but his side, his team, his attorneys should have known that this was coming before it was filed.
17-5.
Yeah, they always do. So Busby, generally his playbook is he'll send a letter out saying all these wild accusations and all these things that he's going to put in a complaint. Sometimes he actually sends the complaint that he's going to file and says, you know, you have 5 days to come up with, you know, $50 million or whatever his demand is. And generally at that point, everyone's like, oh, screw that. I'm not paying $50 million. And Shannon Sharpe was correct for not settling for anywhere near there. Like I said, this is to me a nuisance value case. The value is in how much economically are you going to lose and how much economically are you going to pay a lawyer to defend the case and make sure your reputation is whole. So looking at that, the case was worth somewhere between $1 million to $2 million, maybe $3 million, in talking about the hit to his reputation. And also how much he would pay a real law firm to handle that. A real law firm in these type of cases, and I say a real law firm, I don't want to insult anyone, but a real law firm is normally charging anywhere from, you know, $1,700-$1,800 an hour up to $2,200 an hour. And there's hundreds and hundreds of hours into cases like this. So you can expect this case, if it was to go full boat to a trial, it's a $5 million case. So you start adding those numbers up and seeing economically where you would be to settle the matter. But when someone comes out and says, I want $50 million, it's such an outrageous amount that it takes that off the table. If Busby would have come with a more reasonable amount, and maybe he did, I don't know. All we know is the reports for $50 million. But if Busby came to the
table. So it's clear to me from this that Bradford didn't realize that they offered her $10 million, and that's documented. So we'll take his opinion with a grain of salt.
Table and said, hey, listen, we're looking for, you know, $5 million. That probably would have been a different conversation, because a good lawyer would tell Shannon, hey, we understand this is a total BS case, and sometimes your ego gets in the way and different things happen. But this is strictly an economic, like it's just a formula. And you have to think, like, am I going to lose a contract for $25 million if this comes out? Am I going to pay my lawyers $2 or $3 million? So what's that all worth to me? Okay, you know, she's asking for $5 million. I'll offer $2 or $3 million and get this thing taken care of. And it really is, it's like a legalized extortion is what these cases come down to a lot of times. And it also discounts real victims. And when I say real victims, I don't want to lessen anyone's accusations or how they feel. I know I get a lot of emails and texts like, oh, you're victim shaming and all these different things. It really does discount individuals who have been the subject of violent relationships, of violent sexual batteries, all those things that I don't even take those cases. So all those little things that they're making accusations, and Busby is kind of responsible for that kind of wave. If we look at the cases he's had, he's kind of responsible for that wave of accusations where young ladies that are 22, 23, 24 that are dating a 45 or 50-year-old, suddenly 2, 3, 4 months after the relationship is over and they're texting all kinds of crazy stuff and pictures and saying crazy things, they come to the table and they say, now I want to sue you because I felt like you were grooming me or whatever it is. And I think that discounts a lot of victims out there and a lot of victim stories.
Okay, it's interesting to me because I'm drawing parallels between, for example, prior bad acts. If somebody's been accused of one thing and then we go to court, it isn't necessarily relevant here. And I know that I'm just comparing it to what you're talking about with Tony Busby, the pattern that we have seen from him where he's filing similar lawsuits against different people for multiple different plaintiffs, whatever it may be, for similar allegations. And he just keeps coming up over and over, whether we're talking Diddy, now we're talking Shannon Sharpe. So I guess I'm just wondering, what are your opinions on him?
Oh, this will be interesting.
So I don't like to make fun or judge other lawyers. He's not for me. I don't know. I don't know. I grew up in an age where if you were a lawyer and you looked at other lawyers, you had Ben Brafman to look up to, Jerry Spence, who I don't even know if he's ever lost a case. Individuals that I had the opportunity, all of the lawyers in the O.J. Simpson case, just lawyers that you had the opportunity to watch in action. Mm-hmm. Some I was able to see actually in court. Some I was able to meet and mentor me. So it's I guess it's just different, right? And lawyers always behave differently. You have lawyers that are really, really great, and you have lawyers that are not so great, and then you have lawyers in the middle. And I think that my dad always used to say, your reputation is like a brick wall, right? And you're building your reputation from as small as you can remember, 10 years old up. If you're lying about what happened in school or whatever it is, that all those people remember that, right? As you go forward in life. True. And brick by brick, you're laying your reputation, and it takes one bad thing to happen that will destroy a lifetime of reputation. Now, in Busby's case, I have a hard time dealing with his reputation and the motions that I've seen filed and the complaints that I've seen filed. I have a difficult time thinking that's okay. And in his mind, I think he thinks it's okay. And I'm sure he drives a nice car, lives in a nice house, takes nice vacations, and all these things. But at the end of the day, you can't buy your reputation. So you cannot, doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter, you can give to charity, you can do all these things, but at the end of the day, other lawyers are going to look at you, and he might not care what other lawyers think. I happen to care about my reputation because I think that, like I said, it's one of those things that you can't buy. It's one of those things that people look at you in a way and deal with you in a way, and you do business with people in a way. And I think that what I've seen from Tony Busby is not someone that I would want to get in business with.
Yeah, and I think that's most of us, because we've seen what's happened with him. Not only the mishandling of this case against Jay-Z that he had with Jane Doe, but we've seen even the Southern District of New York say, hey, Tony Busby, you got to stop, man. You got to cut this out. We've seen you do this. We've seen that you've had this behavior over and over and over and over. You're using someone else's credentials to file lawsuits where you're not allowed to file lawsuits. It's an entire mess. This guy's reputation is shot, but at the same point, he knows, and he seems to know and understand the law, because he got a win here with Shannon Sharpe. I want to know what you guys think, and give me a number in the comments and in the chat. What number do you think Shannon settled for? Bradford is saying less than $1 million.
Stop the cap.
I'm not buying that. Some of you might agree. And I'm saying 20 to 25, similar to Cassie. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments and in the chat. Oh boy. Shout out to the gang in the building. Thank you to all 600 plus of you that liked the video as well. Cat Not Williams is in the building. Shout out to Cat Not Williams. Y'all make sure you check the link in the description and go subscribe to her channel. Amazing content creator. She was actually talking about yesterday in breaking news about some of the things we're going to cover today on the show. Y'all go check that out. Show her some love. Like the videos over there. Comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. She says, I just got here, but I agree with this guy. I think pretty much everybody agrees with Tony Busby. Everybody that's not a fake victim. All right. Kat also says, well, And Judge Epstein in the Cali case was critical of Busby's actions, even though he granted the motion to strike. Tony knows how far he can push the law, and that was made clear and brought to light during this entire Jane Doe versus Jay-Z lawsuit. It was bad, and he knows how far he can push it, how far he can go over the line and still be able to continue to practice, which is unfortunate. Katnott Williams put a number on it. She thinks Shannon settled for $15 million. Okay. I'm still sticking to my 20 to 25. I think she got more than Cassie. What? Which is crazy. Which is insane. And again, I think Bradford here, I don't believe he had the background of Shannon offering her 10 million. It makes no sense to me. I said this yesterday. Think of how powerful you would have to feel to turn down $10 million, guys. 10 million. I'm not walking away from 10 million. I told you an example the other day. I said, if I go outside and there's cameras everywhere and I'm walking across the street and this person just drives up near them, they hit me. They're going, who knows, 50 in a 15. Cameras catch it. There's eyewitnesses that have their camera out. Everybody gets it on camera. And then we're about to go to trial. I'm sitting in the hospital. I got my arms up, my legs up. I'm in a body cast. And my attorney comes in there and says, hey, listen, man. If we go to trial, you have the opportunity to get $100 million. But there's a chance that we go to trial and the judge, the jury, they look at the evidence and they say, hey, you shouldn't have been in the street. You shouldn't have been walking there. Yes, he was speeding, but it's your fault for being where you are. And you might not get anything. You might not get anything close to 100 million. They're offering us 10 million. Do you want to take it or do you not? I'd be in my body cast. I'd be up there. Can you give me a pen? Where do I sign? I'm not turning down $10 million. I can't even, my mind cannot even comprehend that amount of money. That is generational money. And this chick just turned down $10 million. Like, nah, we're good. And Bradford's going to say they settled this for less than $1 million.
Stop the cap.
Nope. Not buying it. No. I would have taken the $10 million instantly. I'm not going to sit here and go to court. I'm not going to risk it going in front of a judge or a jury. Give me my 10 million and make sure this guy gets his license revoked and he's never on the street again. I'm good. But I mean, there is greed. That's a factor. There is the evidence they had. That's a factor as well. So you have to ask the question, why? Why would they turn down $10 million? It's crazy. Let's see. We've got some other numbers in here. We've got 15. I wonder if this is why he might have gotten off the Melly trial. He probably knew he did it and didn't want to damage his reputation. Fair point. That's a fair point as well. And it said, and his team, The Rock, not less than 30 million with you make. Oh my goodness. Lord have mercy. Danny in real life is saying 3 to 5 million. I don't think that's unreasonable. Y'all are saying 30 million, says Nate. Oh my goodness. Danny in real life said you could shut me up with 5. Shoot, give me 5 million. I'll retire and never hear from me again. He can smash for 10 mil. Shout out to Keep It Moving in New York. Yo, that's crazy. Katnott Williams says, I think releasing the text was a weird move at first, but killed some of the leverage about embarrassing him. Kat, and that explanation video that Shannon gave was terrible. In my opinion, terrible. He got up there and he said, hey, listen, guys, I know you saw what Jane Doe is saying. Her name's Gabby, by the way. Just wanted to point that out. I know y'all seen the next text messages. I know you heard the audio. And hey, I just want to let y'all know they have a video. And in the video, I'm doing exactly what they're saying I did. in the video, Gabby's over there and she says, no, no, no. But guys, it's not what it looks like. It's not what it looks like, guys. You don't have the full video. You don't have the context. It was like, they showed 2. It was really 10. She said, no, no, no. And then she was fine. She wanted it. Shady. What are you doing, man? I cannot believe he released that video. That was terrible. So bad. So Kat said, yeah, I think releasing the text was weird at first, but killed some of their leverage about embarrassing him. Maybe so. But Shannon embarrassed himself even more, in my opinion. Goodness gracious. Girls on OF are making too much money. Well, they're making that much money because people are giving it to them. It is what it is. I would take the 10 million. I would definitely take 10 million. I would pledge that 10 million to charity.
Stop the cap.
Okay. Depends on what we have behind us also. If I have $1 million in the bank, that makes sense. If no coin in the bank, take anything. I don't think there's a lot of people on this planet, guys, that would turn down $10 million. I just don't see it. Hey, maybe y'all know different. Y'all run in different circles. I don't know a lot of people that would just turn their nose up at 10 million, but hey, maybe you guys do. The explanation video. I'm nasty, but so is Tony Busby. It's true. Except Tony Busby had the law on his side on this one. Shannon Sharpe did not. No one is going to turn down 10 million to settle for less than $1 million. And then retire after that. Y'all think she's going to retire from OF after she gets less than $1 million? No. It's a shakedown. My ears were ringing. I heard my name. Hi, everyone. Shout out to Jay-Z in the building. Oh, man. Men need to stop buying OF. Imagine if we donated all that money to charity instead. The world would be a better place. I like the way you think, Noah, and I agree. There's a lot other things we could be doing with our resources. Yes. She's probably got, okay, I can read, guys, I promise. She'll probably go to a crypto bro and launch a new coin in a new version of an OF app and then disappear. Say it ain't so, Cat Williams. My God. Yeah, I guess that. What happened to Hawk Tua girl? Does anybody know? April O'Neil's baby daddy says it's between 5 and 10. They were in a consensual relationship, so then it would be DV. And again, I've asked this. I haven't heard an attorney talk about this when it comes to the criminal charges. We have to remember this just happened in January. It just happened. Statute of limitation in Nevada for SA is 20 years. So I don't know how Shannon Sharpe sleeps after this, knowing that he just paid this chick, whoever knows how much, and then he could still possibly be facing criminal charges. What if she just wakes up one night? She's like, you know what? Shannon Sharpe, I'm going to the police. Ooh. That would not be fun. Shannon would definitely. You want to talk about him paying? You want to talk about a career being ruined? You do not want to face criminal SA charges, period. And especially as a public figure, especially who people have to look at and listen to. Man. Depends on principle, mate. Love your work. Please don't take otherwise. Money is irrelevant to the situation. What we want or take in life. Coin to a girl. I went. Yeah. Shout out to her. I'm not too good for it, you say. No one is going to turn down 10 million to. Yeah, I agree. I already read that too. I'm sure Tony could care less about folks' opinion of him. Agreed. And he shouldn't. And I know this young lady appreciates the bag he got her because of a chump named Shannon Sharpe. Chumps get preyed upon. And again, we talked about this yesterday, and we'll get into the next subject. if what's being alleged in the lawsuit is true, which now we'll never know, it's dismissed with prejudice, so that's over with. Shannon did this to himself. This man literally went into the ocean and was like, "Hey sharks, are you guys hungry?" You all remember what the lawsuit alleged? We went through it. The lawsuit said Shannon Sharpe allegedly saw Gabby in the gym. He saw her the first time. He was checking her out. He was like, whatever, Shannon. I don't know. Leave me alone. Shannon checked her out. Was talking to her again. Like, let me get your number. She felt intimidated. So she gave Shannon his number. They got to talking, whatever. And at some point, Shannon's like, "Hey, listen, things are getting pretty serious. You know, I'm about to, you need to sign an NDA. And she said, "An NDA? Do you know who I am? I'm Carly. I'm Gabby. I will not sign an NDA." And Shannon Sharpe was like, "Okay, whatever." A dude who's worth tens of millions of dollars to participate in this type of activity without signing the NDA. I can't. I know we went back and forth about this. But goodness gracious. Shannon did this to himself. Stay out of the shark infested waters, man. What is wrong with you? My guy Will Wallace is in here with the 20 bomb. What does he have to say? He said, "Yo, she been getting hit with inflation like everybody else. The rate increase, she went from 25K a cheek to 10 million plus a cheek." Oh my goodness. Man, that's tough. And not to mention, I mean, let's be real. Shannon was paying before this, guys, right? We saw this. They were in a consensual relationship for a long, long time. It seemed from what we heard from Shannon Sharpe and what we saw in the lawsuit that Gabby was getting a little jealous because he lied and he said, "I was the only one." And he wasn't taking care of her the way she felt she needed to be taken care of. So, lawsuit. Dang. Shout out to Will. Man. 10 million. She got 10 million a cheek. Sheesh. And the phone calls didn't help Shannon either. The audio didn't help. Text messages, bad. Apology or explanation video, bad. And then Lanny, his attorney, coming out and doubling down, saying, "Yeah, we're going to do good. And I told Shannon to make that video." Lanny, what were you doing, man? That was a terrible move. Y'all need to hire me. I'll do it. Shannon, Shay, I will be on your legal team. I'll be a part of your PR team, and we can make sure you're good. Handle this stuff behind the scenes. Make sure you're all set up, and we can do what we got to do. Now, unfortunately, I don't know. I don't want to get caught up in a RICO, so maybe I shouldn't offer that. I know you be in the area, Shannon. I know Shay, so hit me up. We're going to learn and we'll grow together. Right? And I definitely won't charge you $10 million. Shannon is a freak. Yeah, it's not a crime, though. More money, more problems at times. I mean, only if you put yourself in certain situations. I mean, dang. Shout out to Will in the building. Let's go ahead and get into this next topic. All right. As I mentioned before, shout out to Cat Not Williams in the building. She covered this yesterday. And boy, if y'all haven't seen this one is interesting. Let me double check and make sure I didn't miss this, and we're good to go. So you guys know, we really got into the whole legal side of things on this channel with the YSL trial. We covered a lot during YSL. We talked about Brian Steele. We talked about Keith Adams. We talked about Young Thug. We talked about Free Monk, and everybody involved. Shout out to Judge Whitaker, right?
These niggas lacking.
But one thing we missed during this trial was what was going on with Nicole Fegan. Now, I covered Nicole Fegan in several videos in the past. We talked about her and what she had going on because there were some recent updates with her case. Now we're hearing Nicole has been indicted again. What? And not even indicted again. We're going to get into the indictment here, but it looks like there's some updates to this recent indictment. We're going to be talking about some of the people who were alleged to be involved in this. And I'm going to actually go through the indictment with you guys, and we'll see here what actually happened and what went down and what she's being accused of. Because we know Fani Willis, she just loves going after people for no reason and wasting our money here in Fulton County. What I'm going to do first is give you guys a little bit of a rewind, and so you can see exactly why Nicole is in this situation and what happened leading up to this indictment. Check it out.
Area criminal defense attorney is on the other side of the law tonight. Atlanta police say she told a murder suspect to throw away evidence. Fox 5's Tyler Fingert has worked on this story all day. He joins us live in downtown Atlanta with the details.
Shout out to Tyler.
Yeah, Courtney, good evening to you. Nicole Fegan represents a defendant in the Young Slime Life gang case. Tonight, she is now in trouble herself. In fact, I've learned she is facing a gang charge.
Nicole's
Atlanta
a wild
area
one.
criminal defense attorney Nicole Fegan now needs a lawyer of her own after being arrested in Gwinnett County Friday and booked into the Fulton County Jail.
This was last year.
Police say she told a murder suspect he was wanted and to ditch his phone. This stems from a September 2022 deadly shooting in downtown Atlanta. Atlanta police say she contacted a suspect in the case to tell him he was wanted and then told him to dispose of his phone. Detectives say Fegan was not representing the suspect she called and learned about the warrant during a court hearing related to the shooting.
You know you got a warrant, right? No, sir. All right, you got a warrant out of the city of Atlanta.
Besides Fegan, police have also arrested Keontae Davis in this case. It's unclear if he's the suspect she called, but officers took him into custody last February after he was pulled over for rolling through a red light. This is body camera video from that arrest. Davis is accused of taking part in the deadly shooting, which police say started as an argument.
Dang.
One person was killed and another was injured in that case. Davis faces at least 2 charges, including murder.
So that's how the eyes were first put on Nicole. There's more to the story. We'll get into it in a second.
Confident that you'll come back with a verdict that speaks the truth.
For Fegan, the allegations are a fall from grace for a defense attorney who has been considered a rising star. In a 2019 Facebook post, she shared this article about her from Atlanta Attorney at Law magazine that calls her the new generation of criminal defense attorneys. Fegan faces 2 charges: participation in criminal street gang activity and solicitation to tamper with evidence.
BS.
Fegan represents YSL defendant Tinquarius Mender. And Fegan has been booked, but at this point, we will not be getting her mugshot because of system issues related to that, the cyber attack that happened last month. We are live in downtown Atlanta tonight. Tyler Fingert, Fox 5 News.
Yeah, and the cyber attack that happened was convenient as well. We won't get into that with Fani Willis and her alleged cyber attack in Fulton County. Anyway, so now we'll fast forward to what's going on today and what recently happened over the past 24 hours. What does Fox 5 say? Former YSL defense attorney Nicole Fegan faces new charges in Fulton County Jail contraband case. Here we go. In short, Nicole, a former defense attorney in YSL RICO trial, faces additional charges, including providing prohibited items to an inmate, recruiting for street gang, and a criminal solicitation. We'll get into it, guys. Also, she with Tinquarius Mender and Brittany Tarika Parks is a part of a 22-count indictment involving drug trafficking, gang activity, and contraband smuggling linked to the YSL gang in Fulton County Jail. Oh my gosh. The indictment accuses Fegan and Parks of supplying Mender with narcotics and contraband, including cash and Apple AirPods, and alleges that Fegan attempted to obstruct a separate gang-related homicide investigation. We just talked about that as well. Nicole, who represented Tinquarius Mender in the YSL RICO trial, was charged with the criminal street gang activity and criminal solicitation to commit the offense of tampering with evidence back in February of last year. On Monday, 3 new counts were added. What are they? According to the documents filed in the Superior Court by the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, she faces additional charges of providing an inmate with prohibited items without authorization, recruiting for a street gang, and criminal solicitation. We're going to get into it. She was previously charged with unlawful for a person to cause, encourage, solicit, recruit, or coerce another to become a criminal street gang member, trafficking in methamphetamine, possession of a Schedule II controlled substance with intent to distribute, possession of marijuana less than 1 ounce. I don't know how they still have that. It's decriminalized in Atlanta, but whatever. 4 counts of obtain, procure, or give an inmate prohibited item without authorization. 2 counts of conspiracy to obtain, procure, or give inmate prohibited item without authorization. Violation of Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act criminal solicitation. Fulton County Jail smuggling ring allegations. Here we go. Here's the story. Fegan and 2 others, Tanquarius Mender, 28, and an inmate in Fulton County Jail, and Brittany Tarika Parks, 30, face a sprawling 22-count indictment, which was amended on Monday following a grand jury session. The charges allege drug trafficking, gang activity, and contraband smuggling at the Fulton County Jail. Prosecutors say the operation was linked to the criminal street gang YSL and included efforts to supply an inmate with methamphetamine, oxycodone, marijuana, cash, and even Apple AirPods. Now, which of these charges are for Nicole, we're going to get into here in a second, and we'll lay that out for you guys. According to the indictment, Mender is accused of violating the Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act while associated with YSL by engaging in gang activity that included trafficking, methamphetamines, possession of Schedule II drug with the intent to distribute, possession of marijuana, and possession of contraband items such as weapons, drugs, and money while incarcerated. Fegan and Parks are accused of aiding Mender's criminal activity by allegedly delivering narcotics and other contraband to the jail. Y'all think this attorney brought him narcotics? Come on, man. I'm not buying it. The indictment also details repeated instances in which they supplied Mender with unauthorized items, including $1,000 in cash and Apple AirPods. If this is true, that's going to be a problem. On March 24th of 2 years ago, 2023, Mender allegedly solicited Parks to send $1,000 to Fegan, who then brought the cash to jail. The next day, Parks allegedly messaged Fegan. Mender said he needs $150 if you can cash app it to me. And then she puts her cash app. To which Fegan responded, okay, and confirmed the money had been received. Fegan is also accused of attempting to obstruct a separate gang-related homicide investigation we talked about by soliciting a fugitive gang member, Nathaniel Bedford, to discard his phone in connection with the prosecution of Quincy Pinkney. Oh. Both Fegan and Parks are charged with conspiracy to furnish an inmate with prohibited items. Mender faces 16 counts related to the unlawful possession of contraband, including drugs, cash, and telecommunication devices, and weapons while in custody. The indictment includes multiple violations of Georgia's Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act, drug trafficking statutes, and contraband laws. You can't be giving that stuff to people in prison. Let's check it out. Oh, no, did I mute this? Hold on a second. We're good. I just got to be patient.
At 6 o'clock, a defense attorney in the YSL gang case now faces criminal charges herself. Lawyer Nicole Fegan was indicted on multiple charges today. Channel 2 investigative reporter Mark Winnie is live for us in the Fulton
Cat still wants those McDonald's
videos. The
videos.
charges include allegations
Not gonna get
that
it,
she
Cat.
tipped off a fugitive about evidence to get rid of.
And this is a fast developing story. I reached out to Drew Finley, the defense attorney for defense attorney Nicole Fegan.
Shout out to Drew.
And I just
He's a
got this
beast.
text from him a short while ago. He said, this indictment is a travesty. Nicole Fegan is a fierce trial attorney and well-respected amongst her peers. These charges stem from activities alleged to have occurred 2.5 years ago during the YSL trial, for which Ms. Fegan was a zealous advocate for her client. No more. We look forward to fighting these false allegations. Well, here's some insight into what those allegations are. Defense lawyer Nicole Fegan is well known in local legal circles for her effective representation of alleged gang members, often when they are charged with violating Georgia's Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act, says J.P. Miller, who told us he knows her from both sides of the street, having worked against her when he was a gang investigator with the Fulton County DA's office and consulted with her now that he's a private investigator.
She has a great reputation on the street and with her clients and by her peers.
She got street cred.
She has been successful in receiving several not guilty and acquittal cases throughout her career.
But now an indictment, which also contains allegations against 2 co-defendants, charges Nicole Fegan herself with violation of the Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act and other charges. For example, the gang charge against her alleges she unlawfully solicited a fugitive in a gang murder case to commit criminal gang activity through the commission of the offense of tampering with evidence.
I'm not buying it.
A criminal solicitation charge suggests she unlawfully solicited a person by that same name, a 4PF gang member that was a fugitive in a 4PF gang murder case, to get rid of his phone with the intent to obstruct the prosecution of someone else.
How are they calling
Another
4PF a
count
gang
accuses
already?
Fegan and another person of the offense of obtain/procure/give inmate prohibited item without authorization. It alleges they did unlawfully give to Tenquarius Mender, an inmate of the Fulton County Jail, a place of incarceration, methamphetamine. Still another count mentions the prohibited item offense, only this time involving the illegal drug oxycodone. And yet another count alleges something similar involving marijuana.
You know, I've worked with her on both sides, and she's always been a pleasure to work with.
Now, a court document that
we'll talk about 4PF later
Nicole
too.
Fegan was Mender's defense lawyer. It indicates in that case he pled guilty to possession of weapon by incarcerated individual, possession of telecommunications device by incarcerated individual, and participation in criminal street gang activity. That last charge as an Alford plea, which I understand means he does not admit that he did it, but that it was in his best interest to plead guilty. There's much more on this that we're digging into. For now, reporting live, Mark Winnie, Channel 2 Action News.
Shout out to Mark, man. What do y'all think about this? Nicole is out here with these BS charges. She has some great representation, so I think she'll be okay. But do you think there's something there? And do you think this is fair to include her in each one of these counts? We're going to go through the entire indictment here shortly. So y'all make sure you stick around for that. If you're watching this on a standalone video, you'll be able to see that in the next video. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments and in the chat. Why? Fanny is Rico hungry. Noah said he's got Rico fatigue. Hey, get comfortable. If you're here in Fulton County, we got Ricos for everybody. Tay Toom said, I thought 4PF was a record label. It's the same thing. Record label, gang. It's the same thing. Yeah, Tay Toom, the 4PF Rico is loading. We know it. The APD, they showed their hand after the shooting went down where Little Baby was, or Little Baby, let me say it properly, where he was filming a music video. And they said, this is your fault. We're coming for you and all your little 4PF gang. This happened because of you, Little Baby. Yep. It's, I don't want to speak it, but we already know what's going to happen. There's already been movement. There's already been legal documents filed. We've reviewed them here on the channel. 4PF is up next, which doesn't make me happy because, well, things I won't say on the internet, but y'all know I'm here in Atlanta. I'll just leave it at that. We've got Kat Not Williams in here. What does she say? They want her to be Proctor from Power. I don't even know how she's in this to begin with. Tenquarius Mender is supposed to also be in the Rolling 60s Crip. So why is this only YSL related? Because Fannie Willis is still the district attorney. Gotta be. So Lil Baby is a gang member. You gotta ask APD because they definitely believe that is. Fanny got all the smoke for rappers. She can't stand me here. We've got over 1,100 of y'all in the building. Thank you guys for being here. Nearly 60% of you have liked the video. Likes are free, family. Can you please like the video? I am begging you. I'm literally begging you to do something that is free and takes less than a second. Click that like button. Help us out. I appreciate it. Oh, man. Do y'all want to get into this BS here? Oh my gosh. We're going to get into it. This is wild. The YSL acquitted defendants like Yak and SB are now home and living their best lives, as they should. But you know, this legal system is all about dominoes, especially when you're looking at a RICO, indictment. And who's to say if everybody would have just stood firm, if Young Thug never would have taken the deal and waited until the end of the trial, if we would have had the outcome that we had? I would like to think so. And I think the jury was pretty clear on how they felt about this RICO in general. But looking at some of the overt acts in the RICO, some of them, I mean, they were pretty solid if we're going to be real. So again, who's to say if Monktunk, he had just sucked it up and stayed in Rice Street, where he would be? Who's to say X, Y, Z wouldn't have taken the plea? Where would we be now? I think there were several defendants, co-defendants in this RICO, this YSL RICO, that were already doing time in prison in the first place. So they was like, man, can I just go back? I don't want to keep coming back and forth to court. I'm trying to get settled over here. Now, who's to say? Who's to say what would have happened? Do you ever see SB live on YouTube? Nope. You better stay off the internet. Stay off the internet. I know Judge Whitaker wanted to say it. All right, let's go ahead and do it. We're going to get into the official indictment. We've got several people listed here. Y'all know what it is. A grand jury decided there's enough to keep this moving forward. When they're looking at this indictment, prosecution, the DA's office says, hey, here's everything we're alleging. Here are the facts that we have so far. Do you think this is likely to have happened or likely to have not happened? Everybody raises their hand. You get 8 out of the 12. The indictment's moving forward. So we have it here. YSL, Nicole Fegan, Tinquarius Mender, and we have Brittany Tarika Parks. What happened here? They got Nicole on count 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, not 9. 17, 19, 20, 21, and 22. And we've got them all here. We're going to go through it. Now, there are going to be some pages I'm going to skip here because, of course, Fannie Willis, there she is right there, did a terrible job of putting this indictment together. And also, man, they've got the grand jurors on here too. Oh my gosh. They got the grand jurors name and everything. This is just a mess. In the name and behalf of the citizens of Georgia, the grand jury does charge and accuse Tinquarius Mender with the offense of violation of the Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act 16-15-4 for the said accused in the county of Fulton and the state of Georgia. On the 17th day of April 2023, he did unlawfully, while associated with a criminal street gang, YSL of course, participate in criminal gang activity through the commission of at least one offense enumerated in paragraph 1. Well, there it is. And then they've got this all here. We're not going to read through that. Trafficking in methamphetamine. He was a drug dealer. Possession of a Schedule II controlled substance with the intent to distribute. He had too many drugs on him. Possession of marijuana, less than 1 ounce. Why is this on here? He must have been outside of Atlanta. Where did this happen? And unauthorized possession of prohibited items by an inmate. He had some AirPods. All right, here we go. Count 2. The grand juries, aforesaid, in the name and the behalf of the citizens of Georgia, do charge Nicole Fegan and Brittany Tarika Parks with the offense unlawful for a person to cause and encourage, solicit, recruit, coerce another to become a criminal street gang. So they were recruiting gang members. On April 17th, what did they do? They encouraged them to traffic drugs. What? How did they do that? They procured for Tinquarius Mender, an inmate in the Fulton County Jail, a place of incarceration, illegal drugs, to which methamphetamine, oxycodone, and marijuana, contrary to the laws of said state, to good order, peace, and dignity thereof. And are they tying this to them through the money that they sent, or in another way? Maybe we'll get to that later. What else did Nicole, Tinquarius, and Brittany do? Trafficking methamphetamine. Obviously, you got the drugs. And that's not okay. What else did all three of them do? They got all three of them on these. Controlled substance with the intent to distribute. They gave him the drugs. He had too many. Now we have this. Possession of marijuana less than an ounce. Insane. Unlawfully have under their possession or control less than 1 ounce of marijuana, contrary to laws of the state. What else did they do? Now, this is just Nicole and Brittany. And they obtained, procured, or given inmate prohibited items. Sounds like are they doing this for the drugs or the AirPods? They gave Tinquarius Mender, an inmate in the Fulton County Jail, a place of incarceration, methamphetamine, illegal drugs without the authorization from the person responsible for the management and operation of the facility or such person's designee. So the only reason it seems like is Nicole was somehow the middleman. But if we're talking about drugs here, I highly doubt that Nicole was somehow walking up to the jail. And I don't know Brittany and I don't know her reputation, so I can't say that Nicole was walking up into the jail and just handing him drugs somehow. And we saw this during the YSL trial. There was someone who was arrested because they allegedly were passing drugs in the courtroom. There was someone who was passing drugs in the courtroom. So this is wild, man. Nicole and Brittany, what else? They obtained, procured, and gave an inmate a prohibited item. They gave Tinquarius Mender, an inmate in the Fulton County Jail, drugs, oxycodone, without the authorization from the person responsible for the management and operation of the facility or such person's designee. Nicole and Brittany, they gave him another item. What was it? They gave Tinquarius Mender an illegal drug. They gave him marijuana. So we've got the drug, we've got the weed there. What else? We got Tinquarius Mender. What did he do? He had unauthorized possession of the prohibited item, and we're going to have 3 of them, right? 1, 2, 3, boom. And then he also had possession of a Schedule II controlled substance with the intent to distribute. On the 15th day of April, he possessed with the intent to distribute oxycodone, a controlled substance in Schedule II. Oh, man. Tinquarius Mender also unauthorized possession of prohibited item. And what else did he have? Drugs. So we got more drugs here. We've got a weapon. Tinquarius Mender, possession of a prohibited item. He did unlawfully possess a weapon, a makeshift knife or shank, typical. Said accused being an inmate, the Fulton County Jail, a place of incarceration without the authorization from the person responsible for the management and operation of the facility. Count 15, Tinquarius Mender. What else did he do? He possessed $740 in United States currency, said accused being an inmate of the Fulton County Jail. So he had $740. He wasn't allowed to have that. He also had, Tinquarius Mender, possession of a telecommunication device, Apple AirPods, in jail as well. We heard that. What else? We've got Nicole in here. This one she's got by herself. So this is interesting. What happened here? She obtained, procured, or gave an inmate a prohibited item without authorization on the 23rd of July of 2020. So this was 3 years earlier. The exact date being unknown to the grand jury, did unlawfully give Tinquarius Mender, an inmate at Fulton County Jail. This is what she had issues with before. She gave him Apple AirPods. So she gave him the AirPods without authorization from the person who is responsible for the overall management and operation of the facility or that person's designee. So the reason they probably don't have the exact date is because did he lose the AirPods or did they not find out about it until later? So between the 23rd and the 15th of April. So that's when Tinquarius Mender was locked up, I'm guessing. And then they didn't find out about it until the 15th of April, which is when Tinquarius Mender got charged with this. Okay. Count 18. Tinquarius Mender, violation of the Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. What happened here? On March 24th, 2023, what did he do? He unlawfully solicited Brittany Tarika Parks to participate in criminal gang activity, to which she procured and gave him prohibited items without authorization. And that was, so this is all because he's tied to YSL. Really? So she procured and gave the inmate a prohibited item, and that said defendant did instruct Brittany Tarika Parks to send Nicole Paige Fegan $1,000 and then have Nicole bring it to him in cash, contrary to the laws of the state. If Nicole did, God, I hope that's not true. What did Nicole do in count 19? Conspiracy to obtain and procure or give the inmate prohibited item. On March 27th of 2023, she did conspire to give Tinquarius Mender, an inmate in Fulton County Jail, at the state facility for the purpose of incarcerating criminals, blah, 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 without the authorization for such designee. And Brittany Tarika Parks did an overt act to affect the object of conspiracy, to wit, did cash app Nicole Fegan $1,000, to wit, Nicole Fegan responded, got it. Okay, did they actually give him the cash? So again, we've got Nicole and Brittany. Boy, this is quite the operation here. On March 10th, they conspired to give Tinquarius Mender, where we're going to skip ahead, and Tinquarius Member, a prohibited item, the United States currency, without the authorization of personnel responsible for the management and operation of the facility or such person's designee. And Nicole Fegan did an overt act to affect the object of the conspiracy by messaging Brittany Tarika Parks. Mender said he needs $150 if you cash app it to me. If you can cash app it to me, to which Brittany Tarika Parks responded, okay, and sent the money. So it sounds like she was giving them the cash. Oh my. And then Nicole Fegan, it says she violated the Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act because on March 24th, she unlawfully solicited Nathaniel Bedford, a fugitive in a gang murder case, to commit a criminal gang activity through the commission of offense tampering with evidence as alleged in count 22. What does count 22 say? Nicole Fegan, criminal solicitation. On the 23rd of March, day before this went down, she unlawfully solicited Nathaniel Bedford, a 4PF gang member. Oh man, little baby needs to get out of Atlanta. A 4PF gang member that was a fugitive in a 4PF gang murder case, to get rid of his phone with the intent to obstruct prosecution of Quincy Pinckney, or Pinky, excuse me. Wow, wow, wow. And then, of course, this was signed and created by the very own Fannie T. Willis. All right, we've got more information here. I'm going to skip over one page because it's got some confidential information we are not going to show on this, and shout out to the heads up for that. And then what else do we have here? So let me move this back over so y'all can see. We've got, okay, Nicole Fegan. There she is. And it shows all the charges there and the counts. There we go. Let me make sure this is good. Possession of marijuana, unlawful for a person. We already went through all these. Good Lord, have mercy. Look at all these. Oh my gosh. It's tough out here. Laid all this out. And then, of course, at the end, wow. How do y'all think this is going to affect Nicole? You think she's going to be okay? There's not going to be an issue moving forward? Think it's going to be bad for her career, or is this going to give her even more street cred if she's able to beat this? Sounds like she's got one of the best attorneys in the county, so I think she'll be okay there. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments in the chat. Oh my goodness. Shout out to the gang in here. I appreciate all of y'all. We got over 1,000 of you in the building. My guy, Will Wallace, is up in here showing love. With the 20 bond says, I believe the contraband accusation. Here's my issue with YSL. Why would they let a woman with her accomplishments go out like that? They couldn't find any better use for her. Game goofy, bad babe to bum, allegedly. I think they're just looking for anything at this point to keep this whole YSL conspiracy going. And then the contraband, that's tough, but I don't think there's going to be anything serious. The problem is that they've got this all together in one indictment, and that's going to be just annoying for Nicole and her representation to deal with. So I feel bad about that. Isn't Fegan's father a prominent lawyer? Wasn't she flexing it on TikTok? I have no idea. She did everything they say, said April O'Neil's baby. Oh, dang. Dang, for real? I don't know. Y'all think that's true? And shout out to, Dominique Carter's in the building. Finally caught alive. Thank you for being here. Shouldn't she know better being an attorney? Attorneys do dumb things sometimes. They're human, guys. The DA's office is obsessed with YSL at this point. The DA's office is obsessed with publicity. And I think that's been made very clear. So publicity, making things look a certain way. YSL was never a gang. They're still looking at it as a gang. Obviously, people have signed off and said that it is a gang, but it's not. We all know that. 4PF, going to be the same issue. Don't know when that's going to go down. I know Viverito is probably hiding in the bushes somewhere trying to make sure that happens. A lot of these were taking place during jury selection and pretrial motions. I don't know when Minder was served. It sounds like in April of 2023. That's what it looks like from this. But I don't know the exact date either. But it had to have been somewhere in 2023. I would believe so. Or actually, no, it's probably 2020. I can look that up and let y'all know at some point. Oh man, I had a couple other things I wanted to get to today. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to it. I might have to save it. Oh, shout out to Nathan here, says, Amy, loving your work. Also for ClassE, respect for your work. Thank you. I appreciate that. I might save these for the next show. There's one other thing I wanted to get to today, especially before we get to Bryan Kohberger tomorrow, but I think we might wait on it and save it because it's still going to be pertinent even after the hearing tomorrow or sentencing tomorrow. So make sure, if you haven't yet, everyone who's here, subscribe and hit the notification bell. We're going to be here tomorrow for the entirety of Bryan Kohberger's sentencing. We're going to hear a lot of victim impact statements. We're going to hear the judge's final decision. We may possibly hear from Bryan Kohberger. I don't know, but we're going to be here for it. Either way, make sure you tap in, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss when we go live. Big thank you to all 1,300 plus of you that liked the video. Shout out to everyone that went the extra mile and sent in super chats as well. Y'all know my guy Will Wallace was in here showing love. Slim Life New Jersey was in the building as well. And then, of course, my awesome, amazing Amy supporting in every way. I appreciate y'all. We are going to be back tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to seeing y'all there. We got a couple of clips and videos dropping this afternoon, so you don't want to miss out on that as well. Y'all know what to do. Have a great rest of your day. I will see you tomorrow. As always, keep growing, keep pushing, keep it classy. We out of here. Peace. We gone.